Winter weather continues here across the state. Travel impacts for the south because of snow, and here along the Wasatch Front, wind is our main problem tonight. So what can you expect this weekend? Your forecast is coming up.
He has a gun now pulled out by that time.
We have a first look at a police shooting from last August that left a suspect dead.
We do not know why Sergeant Vincent apparently decided to shoot his gun during the incident.
Today at 5, why one officer was justified in the shooting, while the other was not.
The hospitality industry has been hit hard by the pandemic, but a new idea could help hotels and people experiencing homelessness.
Shelters don't solve homelessness. Housing is what actually solves homelessness.
But not everyone may be on board.
And fallout between two organizations that have teamed up to shine a light on missing and murdered Indigenous women. Why one group says the Elizabeth Smart Foundation was exploiting their foundation.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
First at 5, several weather advisories and warnings have been issued for the state this weekend. Right now, I-15 is closed in both directions in Beaver, and on our map, you can see how winter weather is impacting roadways in the southern half of the state.
Boy, it is a mess down there. Let's begin with Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan in the First Alert Weather Center. Allison.
Oh my goodness, yes, lots of travel concerns for this weekend. Getting to that radar across southern Utah. This is why we're looking at that area right at I-70 along I-15 near Beaver, where we're seeing our heaviest snowfall just a few miles north of Beaver, really running into a lot of travel problems. For Milford tonight, if you don't have to travel, don't have to leave the house, I would recommend you stay still over the next couple of hours because we're going to have this impacting you through at least midnight for south central Utah. So we'll continue with that snow for the south. For the north, the main story tonight will be gusty conditions, along with a few chances for some snow showers to develop. But right now our wind is around 15 to 25 miles per hour up north and also very breezy into the Blanding area. Gusty downslope winds for tonight, mainly from North Ogden all the way down towards Cottonwood Heights, but especially bountiful up through Farmington. We're looking at wind gusts in this area about 35 to 55 miles per hour. Temperatures here across the state currently, a lot of us around 45 to 50 for the Wasatch Front, but check that out. Cedar City 23, about 19 degrees for Milford, St. George 42. So let's talk about snow totals and what you can expect for the rest of the night coming up in the next full forecast.
He shot him like 8 times. For the first time since August, we are getting a look at what happened when 2 Salt Lake City police officers shot at one suspect who died on scene.
Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill says this was a complicated case to investigate because none of the officers used body cameras, but they were able to pull a few videos together to show us what happened.
One officer today was found justified in the shooting, the other was not. Fox 13's Aaron Cox joins us live from the district attorney's office where that case was reviewed today. Aaron.
Yeah, that's right. And just to make sure we're clear on this was 2 West Valley City police officers involved in this shooting. One of them justified, the other not. It was so hard because, again, there were no videos from the body cameras worn, but there were other videos they were able to pull together. This is what they show us. You can see 3 people in this shot. The video comes from a Department of Public Safety helicopter where officers were watching from above. Damian Evans is the suspect. You can see he takes off running.
He's there, but he has a gun now pulled out by that time.
West Valley City Police called in extra resources with the U.S. Marshals team for this arrest. We're told Evans had violated parole and fled supervision. Officers had tried to arrest Evans earlier in August of 2020 in Ogden, but couldn't do it safely. They brought a canine officer to help them this time.
We do not know why Sergeant Vincent apparently decided to shoot his gun during the incident, and there are not enough facts at present from which reasonable inferences can support a conclusion that Sergeant Vincent reasonably believed that he needed to use deadly force.
The shot did not hit Evans, who continued running through the parking lot of a local church. Evans is then cornered by officers on foot and in cars. The trees surrounding the area make it hard to tell exactly what happened, but District Attorney Sim Gill says Evans tried to climb a fence to escape.
Sergeant Hill said he heard several officers yelling commands to Mr. Evans, but Mr. Evans didn't comply with any of the commands. Sergeant Hill said that Mr. Evans turned towards the officers and he heard several gunshots ring. Sergeant Hill said that he saw Mr. Evans go down and he saw Mr. Evans' gun halfway outside his pants pocket.
He shot him like 8 times.
Officer Clinton Moore shot Evans 6 times. One bullet broke Evans' gun, and he died on scene.
And we believe that the use of deadly force is justified.
Now, Gill says Officer Moore was justified, but Sergeant Vincent was not, yet he's not pressing any criminal charges. Now, a spokeswoman with the West Valley City Police says they're performing an internal review on those officers now. In Salt Lake City, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Aaron, thank you. We have breaking news right now in a fatal shooting in Kearns. The suspected shooter, 20-year-old Jonathan Johnson, has been arrested. 3 people were hurt in the shooting. 32-year-old Alonso Gerardo Garcia Mendoza was killed last Tuesday. Johnson now facing 14 felony charges, including discharge of a firearm, aggravated robbery, and aggravated murder. 3 other suspects in the shooting have not been arrested.
There were 519 more COVID-19 cases today. The weekly positivity rate is down to 8.4%. ICU beds are down to 68% capacity statewide.
2 Salt Lake County men have died from the virus. Both were hospitalized at the time. One was between 45 and 64 years old. The other was older than 85. 2,017 people in Utah have now died from COVID-19. Almost 1 million vaccines have now been administered in Utah. More than 348,000 Utahns are now fully vaccinated.
As lawmakers continue to think about the end of the pandemic, one Intermountain healthcare doctor says now is not the time to ease up on personal health practices. Even though the statewide mask mandate is set to end on April 10th, Dr. Todd Vento says people should still be cautious. He warns that returning to pre-COVID-19 practices too soon could result in the greater spread of variants and even new forms of the virus.
It's one thing to have a legislative mandate, a legal mandate for saying, you know, this is what we're going to do, but that's really not reflecting public health smart practices in terms of what we should still do, and also individual practices.
Dr. Vento says getting any of the vaccines when you're eligible is the best way to protect yourself against COVID-19.
Utah State University has announced it is adjusting its pandemic protocols for graduation ceremonies coming up this May. USU says it will now allow 2 in-person guests per graduating student. About 20 small events grouped by college will take place on May 6th and 7th in 2 larger venues on the Logan campus.
A proposal for the government and nonprofit organizations to buy hotels is getting more attention than you might expect.
Bob, it's an idea meant to give Utah's homeless population what they need most: homes. Fox 13's Max Roth joins us in the newsroom with a look. Max.
One of the hardest hit industries of the pandemic, hospitality, hotels and motels. And one of the biggest crises in the state right now, homelessness and a lack of housing altogether. So the idea now, use one problem to help solve the other.
Homelessness is more visible, more common than it has been at any point in our state's history.
It's impossible to miss if you spend time in northern Utah's urban cores, Salt Lake, Provo, Ogden, tent camps in parks and on streets. Salt Lake County has 3 new shelters, but affordable permanent housing, next to none.
Shelters don't solve homelessness. Housing is what actually solves homelessness.
Money is coming available, likely $13.2 million from the American Rescue Plan, added to $15 million in state tax dollars. The Utah Coalition of Religious Communities and Crossroads Urban Center organized this Zoom gathering of state, county, and city leaders to push the idea that buying struggling hotels and motels could be the answer.
There is a lot of hotel inventory that's on the market to consider. And I know a number of our housing authorities are looking at it. I know a number of nonprofits that are looking at that opportunity.
It's happening on the West Coast. The hotel pictured in this Pew Research Center article is housing homeless people in California. The same article saying in Oregon, they're spending $65 million in state money to buy up 20 underused hotels. And Salt Lake County leased a hotel in this pandemic to house vulnerable people. But in their announcement, a nod to the possibility of drawing negative attention. The county will not be releasing the name or location of the hotel. And that could be the difficulty, convincing neighbors it's okay to have supportive housing for vulnerable people nearby.
We've got to get our communities on board. And I think the faith-based communities really can make an impact in that.
So while this might sound far-fetched, remember it was just last week that Gail Miller stood on Utah's Capitol steps with House and Senate leaders announcing a $750 million plan for fighting homelessness and providing affordable housing. So who knows what'll happen, but there is momentum on this issue. Live in the newsroom, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Max, thank you. Still to come, why Amazon is taking a stand over a controversial book and why Utah Senator Mike Lee is getting involved in the fight.
And has your wallet felt the hike in gas prices? We'll take a look at why it's happening. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris celebrated their first major legislative win at the White House today.
The president, first lady, and the vice president and second gentleman will spend the next week crisscrossing the country to sell the American Rescue Plan directly to the American people. The administration says with the new funding and ramped up vaccinations, their goal is by July 4th of this year, it will be safe for Americans to gather in small groups.
This landmark legislation will get relief to families, get support to communities, and make sure more shots get in arms.
Because of what you all did and passed, we had the money to go out and literally purchased hundreds of millions of vaccines.
Meanwhile, Republicans who unanimously opposed the bill say their voices were left out. They also accuse President Joe Biden of taking credit for former President Trump's work on the vaccine.
Amazon says it will not sell books that frame transgender and other sexual identities as mental illnesses. The Wall Street Journal obtained a letter written by Amazon to Utah Senator Mike Lee and 3 other senators. Senator Lee wrote to Amazon last month asking why the book When Harry Became Sally was no longer available after 3 years of being on sale on the site. The senators claim that when Amazon shut down the social media platform Parler, it was signaling to conservatives that their views were not welcome. Amazon said in its letter to the senators, quote, "We provide our customers with access to a variety of viewpoints, including books that some customers may find objectionable. Amazon works hard to ensure customers have access to the widest and most diverse cross-section of written and spoken word in retail today."
The city of Minneapolis has agreed to pay $27 million to George Floyd's family, all to settle a wrongful death lawsuit.
This comes as jury selection continues in the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin is seen on video kneeling on Floyd's neck for nearly 8 minutes last May. The civil lawsuit alleges Chauvin and the 3 other officers involved violated Floyd's constitutional rights.
We have to show that George Floyd's life matters by our actions. It's not just enough for America to say that Black Lives Matter. We have to show that Black Lives Matter by our actions.
The settlement could have implications for the ongoing trial. Chauvin is charged with 2nd and 3rd degree murder, along with manslaughter. He has pleaded not guilty.
You can watch the court proceedings against Derek Chauvin on our sister network, Court TV. You can find it over the air for free on channel 13.3 or on any of your favorite streaming platforms. Still ahead, implicit bias impacts all of us, whether we know it or not. See how it's played a big role in the banking industry and how some groups are trying to change that.
And have you been locked out of your family's Netflix account? We'll explain the changes that are in the works that may impact your daily streaming. People of color have long been denied access to loans in this country, making it harder to start businesses and buy homes.
Anthony Hill finds out how implicit bias plays into that and shows us the efforts to level the playing field.
Implicit bias exists in all parts of society.
A key part of the American dream is home ownership. It's one of the ways many have passed down generational wealth, but many people of color have long complained of being locked out of that dream. Decades ago, banks refused to lend to minorities, but today, the issue is implicit bias.
When you have a person of color come in compared to others, suddenly the perception of risk, that inherent risk is there.
This is Dr. Sri Sundaram. He says there tends to be an assumption that blacks and Latinos can't or won't pay on their loans.
You have people that have really good credit scores and income levels. They're all professionals and still have the stigma, the bias attached to that.
Though the Fair Housing Act was signed in 1968, which prohibits discrimination in selling and financing of housing, home ownership rates for blacks and Latinos haven't increased. According to the U.S. Census, 72% of white Americans own their homes, compared to 47% of Latinos and 42% of African Americans.
Why is it important that people of color have access to loans with fair interest rates?
Because it's the right thing to do.
This is Aixa Antonio Thomas, Executive Director of Solita's House, a community development financial institution. Her organization gives financial advice and lends money with low interest rates, mostly to people of color.
So for you to tell me that just because of what I look like, I may have bad credit or I may be a greater risk to you is ridiculous.
This is Dondria Grace, and she's rented all her life. But with the help of Solita's House, she's close to moving into her very own house.
Then my goal to move forward, become a first-time homeowner.
Her house is currently being built.
Tell me why home ownership is important to you.
You know, I don't have everything that I can think of, but I never had a home.
This is how you continue to create wealth.
And though Dondria is fortunate to have community advisors and financial assistance, many other people of color are trying to get mortgages through major lending institutions. Dr. Sundaram says, though there is training on implicit bias, it's difficult to change perspectives and behaviors overnight.
In a way, I'm hoping that technology is going to help reduce some of the bias that we're seeing.
Aixa tells me one of the ways to eliminate implicit bias in banking when applying for loans is to know exactly what you qualify for, and then arm yourself with information to ensure you get the best deal possible. I'm Anthony Hill reporting.
And we hope everyone will join us tomorrow night for a special hour-long commercial-free broadcast called The Hidden Bias of Good People. It's a conversation about race and inclusivity in our society and how each of our backgrounds shape the world around us. The Hidden Bias of Good People airs tomorrow night again at 7 p.m. right here on Fox 13, also on our website, fox13now.com, and on our streaming apps for Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV.
Well, I'll tell you what, despite partly cloudy skies up here in the north, central and southern Utah are getting hit hard by winter weather conditions. This is a live look at Eagle Point Mountain Resort near Beaver, down there in Beaver County, where it has been dumping snow for several hours today. Allison, this is really something.
Yes, absolutely. I'll have that hourly forecast for Beaver in just a moment, but I wanted to start with the satellite and radar to show you we really have the same system that is going to continue impacting us through the weekend. And the setup with this, as this low pressure continues to shift to the east, we're starting to get this wraparound moisture. And I-15 right near Beaver, where it meets up with I-70, that's where we've had our heaviest snowfall. So right now from Beaver over towards Milford, that's where our heaviest snow is currently coming down. We have some moderate snow coming down through the Penguich area up towards Circleville. Wasatch front, we've had partly cloudy sky this afternoon. It's actually been a pretty pleasant afternoon, but wind our top story tonight. And new this evening, winter storm warnings have been issued for the mountains of southern Utah. This is until Saturday at 9 a.m. We're looking at an additional 2 to 8 inches of snow for the areas highlighted in pink here. Heavy snow this evening will end up shifting westward, and that will impact Milford to Enterprise, including highways 21, 257, and 56. If you have to travel in this area, anywhere that's highlighted in hot pink right now, so really anywhere across southwestern Utah, once you get north of St. George, it would behoove you to bring a flashlight, food, and water to keep in your vehicle in case of emergency. I also suggest keeping blankets in case you have to turn your car off. You likely will want to turn your car off, and making sure that you have a full tank of gas and that your tires are prepared for those elements. Wind advisory for the Wasatch front. This will be through Saturday morning, and then for tomorrow, we're really going to keep our focus this weekend on the winter storm impacts for that warning for the Uintas. So Beaver over the next next couple of hours. We're looking at that chance for snow through 8 o'clock. Then it's going to shift mostly west of I-15, but still continuing impacting those higher mountain passes with temperatures just hovering in the upper 20s. This area of low pressure continues to impact the region, and there's a couple of things that I want to point out with this. First of all, the north side of this low has the wind coming out of the north, the south side of this low out of the south. We look at the rest of the weekend and look how strong these storms get to be on the east side of this low pressure system, that it begins to move through Texas, severe storms possible all the way up towards Nebraska. And then we look at this forecast for Utah, and we continue seeing some impacts for that snowfall, mostly for the Uintas through Sunday. So this is the same thing. I just zoomed into Utah to show you what you can expect over the next couple of hours. Still by 8 o'clock, we have that snow from the Uintas all the way down towards Mesquite, and then we'll see that shifting west of I-15 through about midnight through early tomorrow morning, and St. George has that chance for some snow to develop early tomorrow morning again. So northern Utah, we will see some scattered snow showers, just not as widespread as what we're seeing right now across southern Utah. Very impressive band of snow near Beaver currently. Now, St. George, tomorrow morning, that chance for snow will shift by about 5 a.m. through the early morning hours. Wind speed here across the state right now, it's gusting and blending 25 miles per hour, a bit breezy for the north, but northern Utah travel impacts tonight by about 7, 8 p.m. We start seeing that wind gusting about 35 to 45 miles per hour, and then we potentially see some wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour. This is in the Farmington area through midnight and then into early tomorrow morning. Temperatures here across the state currently, Wasatch front 50s, teens and 20s for Cedar City and Milford. Overnight temperatures will be about 25 to 35. Highs tomorrow will be about 35 to 45, and for St. George, that chance for some snow to mix in early in the day. By Sunday, though, St. George 60, close to that on Monday with a chance for a few showers late in the day. And for the Wasatch front, still keeping my eye on that chance for some rain and snow to develop early next week. Chance for some showers, might see some snow mixing in during those overnight hours. But this weekend, Sunday will be our warmest day for the weekend, and then by Monday, close to 60, and then close to 60 by the end of next week. In my next forecast, we'll talk about how much snow you can expect here across the state tonight.
Still to come, a relationship between the Elizabeth Smart Foundation and a group devoted to finding missing and murdered Indigenous women has gone south. We'll explain why the split is not so peaceful.
You guys are all butterflies and rainbows, and that's not the case, you know.
Plus, they're a crucial part in helping to de-escalate a crisis. See how Salt Lake City police are making mental health a priority on the street.
Well, if you want to get from Salt Lake City to Alaska, we've got some good news. You now have more options.
That's right. Delta Airlines is introducing new service and more flights this summer to premier outdoor destinations such as Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau, Ketchikan, and Sitka. Daily nonstop service from Salt Lake to Anchorage starts May 5th with a second seasonal flight starting June 19th. Most of the flights will use larger mainline aircraft with enhanced passenger comfort, seat-back entertainment, and Wi-Fi on all flights.
You may have already noticed gasoline prices are soaring right now. AAA says the average price at the pump across the nation is $2.83. Here in Utah, it's $2.95. I tell you, I filled up today. I paid over $3 a gallon. That hurt. In addition to responding to growing demands as the pandemic starts to ease just a bit, experts say markets are responding to the Biden administration's ban on new oil and gas leases and new drilling on federal land. They also say we can expect to see even higher prices going into the spring because OPEC has refused to increase production despite increasing demand.
If you share your Netflix account with other people, listen up. The company's terms of service say accounts, quote, may not be shared with individuals beyond your household, unquote. Now the streaming giant is testing a new feature that could crack down on password sharing. The way it would work is when a user selects their profile on a shared Netflix account, a pop-up will ask them to verify the account. That would be done with a text or email sent to the account holder. Users can also choose to verify later, in which case the pop-up will show up again at an undetermined later date.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose for the 6th consecutive session today and set a record boosted by the signs that domestic economy is revving up. The Dow added 293 points to close at 32,779. The Nasdaq lost 79 and the S&P gained 4.
Still to come, there are some big changes coming soon to the LDS temples in Salt Lake City and Manti. We'll show you.
I'm Tamara Vaifanua. Coming up, I'll tell you what led to the Elizabeth Smart Foundation shutting down a campaign aimed at helping to find missing and murdered Indigenous women.
And a West Jordan farm dedicated to helping rescued and abused animals now needs your help. See how you can give back in their time of need.
New at 5:30, the Elizabeth Smart Foundation has shut down a campaign aimed at highlighting the search for missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Fox 13's Tamara Vaifanua explains why some advocacy groups refuse to work with them.
The group called MMIW USA says they were excited to team up with the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, but now they're accusing them of exploiting their platform to serve their own interests.
There are so many who are never found, who are never even looked for.
Elizabeth Smart Foundation launched a week-long fitness challenge called Find Them All. Smart returned to her family in March of 2003 after being abducted for 9 months. In this latest campaign, she pledges to find all women.
They just disappear and nothing ever happens. And unfortunately, none more so than Native and Indigenous women and girls.
She explains all proceeds will go toward the prevention and recovery of missing and Indigenous women.
Because every single missing person deserves to come home.
In a Facebook post, the group Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women USA issued a warning to their supporters, saying, quote, "We were approached by this organization to collaborate with them to find all women. They said a man with a condescending tone was culturally insensitive and seemed interested in self-promoting, and the foundation displayed no interest in learning more about their struggle in finding and getting justice for our people." They added, "You do not have the right to use our people to obtain publicity." I reached out to the Elizabeth Smart Foundation. They explained that they approached MMIW USA and several other organizations to help provide content and people who could help tell the story. In a written statement to Fox 13, they added, "Out of respect for them and all Native and Indigenous voices, and also to prevent the greater effort from being overshadowed, we are stepping back to find other ways to provide support. As a foundation, we will continue our work to end the victimization and exploitation of sexual assault through prevention, recovery, and advocacy."
I'm really excited to, be part of this, to help organize, Indigenous voices to be part of this space and these conversations.
Despite the falling out, Indigenous activist and runner Jordan Daniel tells me the foundation means well, and she'll continue to work with them to find common ground. If you'd like to read the entire statement from the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, we'll link you over from our website. Just go to fox13now.com. In Salt Lake County, Tamara Vaifanua, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, you can see it's nice up here in the north, but take a look at this. This is down south in the southwest area of the state under a winter storm warning right now. This is a live look at the snow on northbound I-15 in Beaver, where northbound is still closed. However, you can see that it is inching along. Southbound is back open again, but crews are still working to clear what we hear are numerous crashes and slide-offs down in that area of the state. I'll tell you what, Allison, we don't expect this in March.
Well, absolutely. And yesterday, that's what I was talking about. This area of I-15 is a very tough area, but also just seeing it's a Friday afternoon, people are traveling back and forth from St. George to Salt Lake. And that I-15 area right there, that's where we're seeing our heaviest snowfall. So we're going to end up with this eventually shifting further east, but Milford really going to see the brunt of this evening from Milford to Enterprise. And then I-15, that's where we're going to end up with slick travel conditions for a few more hours at the very least, and then occasional snow here across the state through this evening and into the weekend, especially up towards the Uintas. Wasatch Front, partly cloudy sky. Our main weather impact this evening will be the wind gusts. Right now, you've probably noticed it at Logan all the way down towards Delta. It's about 15 to 30 miles per hour. Blanding also gusting pretty strong. But the top weather headlines for you on this Friday night: gusty downslope winds for the Wasatch Front, winter storm warnings for the Uintas this weekend, and then we have those winter storm warnings that are new for southern Utah. But for tonight, for the Wasatch Front, we're looking at an area from Cottonwood Heights all the way up to North Ogden of wind gusts about 35 to 55 miles per hour, with the strongest winds tonight through tomorrow morning, Farmington and Bountiful. But coming up in my next full forecast, let's talk about how much snow you can expect over the next couple of days, more travel impacts and details on those winter storm warnings and that next full forecast.
All right, Allison, thank you. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has announced significant changes to its Salt Lake City and Manti temples. Both temples will no longer have multi-room presentations by live actors. Instead, they will hold single-room filmed presentations, allowing the temples to hold more sessions each day. As part of the changes, the historic murals at both temples are being photographed, documented, and removed. The Salt Lake Temple will have 2 additional instruction rooms, a second baptismal font on the lower level, and there will be no longer a cafeteria.
Changes to the temples. One of the 12 apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is confirming donations were made in his name to political campaigns. The Salt Lake Tribune is reporting Elder Dieter F. Uchtdorf said in a statement that donations were made by his family members from a shared account. 4 donations of $250 were made to the Biden campaign. Several other donations went to Senate candidates and other groups that support Democrats. The church does have policies against top leaders contributing to political candidates. Elder Uchtdorf says he regrets the oversight and fully supports the church policy.
Some parents are now suing the Park City School District over its test to stay policy. Students are required to undergo rapid antigen testing for COVID-19 every 2 weeks to learn in person. The Salt Lake Tribune is reporting parents behind this lawsuit did not consent to testing nor to remote learning. The complaint also questions the rapid testing methods used and how testing information is being stored. The Park City School District has not responded to our request for comment.
A community resource here, a brand new hospital in southern Utah County will soon open its doors. Intermountain Spanish Fork Hospital will have 33 beds and focus on surgery and mother-baby services. Hospital CEO and Administrator Francis Gibson says they do anticipate 15,000 visits a year to their emergency room and about 1,500 births a year initially, with room to grow as the community in Utah County continues to grow as well.
We anticipate growth over the next 10 to 15 years. We do have the ability to grow just internally, adding additional operating space and additional nursery. But because we have the acreage and the size, we do anticipate that this hospital will need to grow.
A virtual ribbon cutting event is planned for next Wednesday, March 17th, with the hospital opening to patients on April 5th. Still to come, Salt Lake police are working to prevent the worst case scenario in sensitive cases. We'll show you how you can be part of the solution.
And when you can't watch Fox 13 News live, watch us streaming online for free on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Just search Fox 13 on your device to watch the news on your time. The Salt Lake City Police Department wants to hire a social worker to help officers in the field. The need for more social workers came into sharp focus last year after a Salt Lake police officer shot a 13-year-old boy on the autism spectrum. Officers deal with crises like this nearly every day, and the police department is expanding its crisis intervention team to hopefully prevent situations like that from ever happening again.
We can help assist officers and work as a team. We still need the officers on scene for the logistical, tactical stuff, but then we can work on behind the scenes, whether that's housing, medication management, or therapy, short-term therapy, especially with this position.
For more information on the position and to apply, go to fox13now.com.
The farm at Gardner Village is asking for a little help right now after the pandemic has really taken a toll on its finances. The farm is a place that takes in abused and neglected animals. Right before the pandemic, it expanded to rescue even more animals, but of course that costs more. And once COVID hit, people stopped visiting and the donations stopped as well. Now the CEO of the farm is asking for support for the animals he loves so much.
This becomes a healing place for people as well as animals. And I don't do the healing of the people, it's the animals that do. They just, there's a connection there.
Place. If you would like more information on how to help or to volunteer, go to fox13now.com.
The pink recession is impacting thousands of workers in Utah and across the country as women juggle work responsibilities with family life during the pandemic.
So many of you are dealing with this right now. Today, Utah women in the tech industry met virtually to discuss how the pandemic has changed the way they look at jobs. During the conference, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson expressed her hope that Utah women can help the economy bounce back from the pandemic.
Today's Utah women are innovative, courageous, and hardworking. I'm inspired by the strength and tenacity of the remarkable women who came before me, and I have just incredible hope in the next generation.
The discussion emphasized that although there is light at the end of the tunnel for the pandemic, struggles that many women face in the workforce will continue unless employees and leaders push for change. Coming up, one celebrity gives a young Riverton boy the surprise of a lifetime. It's a story you don't want to miss.
And coming up in sports, hear from the Jazz's newest player as he attempts to help keep a good thing going in half number 2, while Dixie State's D1 home debut finally happening, or so we hope. Hear from the Trailblazers ready to trailblaze some history over the weekend in a bit.
Professional athletes and celebrities. That's usually who young teens look up to.
That's right, but one young man's idol is the host of the PBS home improvement show, This Old House. Fox 13's Amy Nay reports on a very special surprise for this young fan, all thanks to his school and Tom Silva.
Hi, Hayden. Hi. Are you wondering what in the world's going on?
All right, 2. Give that a try, Tom.
Close.
So yeah, sometimes we'll call him Hayden and he says, nope, call me Tom Silva. That's Tom Silva, and he wants to talk to Hayden. Tom Silva probably has no idea how much of an impact he's had on a guy and a 13-year-old in Utah.
That's why administrators at the Kari Sue Hamilton School in Riverton made this video for the host of This Old House.
We thought we would send a video to Tom just saying thanks.
Never expecting they'd hear back.
Is that to you? Yeah. Yeah?
From Silva himself.
I'm so excited to see what's in this box. Oh my goodness, it was overwhelming, honestly.
He was elated. He was just bursting with joy as he saw Tom.
He'll say all the time that he wants Tom Silva to say, hi, Hayden. And that was the very first thing he said on that video.
Hi, Hayden. I was watching your video where you were organizing all the silverware. Good for you. And you have to practice doing that all the time. It's like I practice with my tools.
They're tools.
Just the fact that he would take time out of his life to create this video for my son means a lot to me and for my son as well. I think today was maybe a highlight in his life to have Tom Silva actually call him by name.
Hi, Hayden. It's you, Hayden. I'm going to put a little note on it for you.
What is that? He had to process it. It took a minute for him to understand that this really was Tom Silva talking to him directly.
A man Hayden idolizes, and mom says is responsible for helping her son at school.
Every single year I get his IEP and he's made okay progress, but this year he'd made such huge progress, and I asked the occupational therapist, what was the change? They said, oh, we found what works. What works for him is when he gets to shop, they call it shop, when they get to shop, he has to be called Tom. And he's working in his shop, and then he's motivated to do his occupational therapy.
And she says help them at home with their online learning.
I'd pull out the atlas and say, where are they today? And he'd say, they're in Massachusetts, and we'd find it on the atlas.
And Dad believes this will only continue to help his son in reaching his goals moving forward.
To know that somebody like Tom is rooting for him, I think it'll go a long way.
And thanks for being such a big fan, and keep watching.
Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Wow, what a surprise for Hayden. And I know it's not Tom Silva, but hi, Hayden.
Hi, Hayden.
Great story. That was such a great story.
So happy for you that Tom Silva talked to you.
That's so cool.
Very neat.
Wow. Wow.
Well, wow to the snow totals that we're seeing so far in southern Utah. We're seeing some pretty big impacts down south. So looking at the hourly forecast for the Beaver area, this is where we're getting hardest hit right now as far as that snow goes along I-15. And we're going to keep that chance for snow mainly through the 8 o'clock hour. And then we're going to end up with some better chances for that to move west of I-15. St. George, here's what you have right now. Cloudy sky, areas of rain, more chances for some snow to mix in tomorrow morning, but currently 42 degrees. Now getting to that satellite and radar here across southern Utah, it's that I-15 area right where you meet up with I-70 where we're seeing our biggest problems. So as I bring you high resolution here, Milford seeing the heaviest snowfall currently. We're also seeing some areas of lightning, so up through the Scipio area, and then along the Wasatch front we also have some increasing chances for showers moving through Eureka. Milford to Eureka is where we're going to have our heaviest snowfall tonight. But looking at the bigger picture here, it's this area of low pressure that's going to continue impacting the region. And as it moves in a counterclockwise fashion, that's why we're seeing that wraparound enhanced moisture on the northern side of it. So for today, we'll have wind advisories tonight for the Wasatch front, going to be very gusty this evening. For central Utah, a winter weather advisory. This is brand new. And then also new winter storm warnings for southwest Utah. This will be through Saturday at 9 a.m. Initially, that was slated to be a winter weather advisory, but it got upgraded to a warning because that snow is just so impressive coming down currently. For the rest of this weekend, winter storm warning for the Uintas. This will be through Sunday afternoon. And we're going to keep that chance on that northern end of that low with the heaviest snowfall coming down, really bringing some impacts. So our temperatures are basically the opposite here across the state right now. Wasatch front, our warmest place, and our coldest place, southwestern Utah. And then we head through the evening hours and we're going to have gusty downslope winds, North Ogden all the way down towards Cottonwood Heights, with the strongest wind gusts for the areas in orange up to 55 miles per hour. And for the areas of yellow, that is a wind gust of about 35 to 50 miles per hour through the evening. So as I walk you through this futurecast, let's keep our eye on this timestamp. So through about 8 o'clock, we're going to start seeing that snow shifting west of I-15 with that heaviest snow from Enterprise all the way down towards the Milford area. And then we're going to see some chances for snow here across northern Utah as well. But the bulk of this will continue to fall in southern Utah. And then we head into Saturday and Sunday. And on the northern end of this low pressure system, out of that north, we're going to end up with the enhanced snowfall. So future snowfall from here on out, heaviest snowfall Uintas and then across southwest Utah west of I-15. Wasatch front, we're looking at about 1 to 3 inches of snow, and then we'll see a few more inches of snow up in the mountains, but mountains of central Utah, Mount Pleasant all the way down towards Salina, seeing that heaviest snowfall. Same thing with the Milford area. So we've already seen 6 inches of snow for the Beaver area, and we're going to continue seeing areas of snowfall tonight. Overnight temperatures will be about 25 to 35. Highs tomorrow will be about 40 to 45. And then we're going to continue with that snow, especially for the mountains here across the state. St. George, chance for some snow to mix in tomorrow morning, close to 60 for Sunday. Chance for some rain come Monday afternoon. And for the Wasatch front, temperatures will be in the 50s for Sunday and Monday. Chances for some rain and snow Tuesday, and then we're back up close to 60 by next Thursday.
After 9 days off, the Jazz are back in play tonight at home against Houston. The Rockets have dropped 14 straight dating back to February 4th, so it's no surprise to see Utah as an 18.5-point favorite. But Friday could mean seeing a new face for the first time. The Jazz this week signing Ersan İlyasova to help the team down the stretch. The Turkish product, who is friends with former Jazz All-Star Mehmet Okur, has played 12 seasons in the NBA with 6 different teams, including last year in Milwaukee, and is one of just 26 active players with 8,000 points and 4,500 rebounds.
This is the great opportunity, you know, and when you see it, the way they play, you know, share the ball, move the ball, you know, kind of everybody kind of back each other, and I think this is what it takes to win championship.
The one thing we've been really conscious of is, you know, is the chemistry of the team, and that's the case here. And Ersan knows that. He wants to be a part of that, and that's the reason that we thought it made as much sense as it did.
3 in-staters compete tonight in their respective conference tournament semifinals. Utah State and Utah Valley both tip late, while SUU is currently at the half with Montana State in Boise. The T-Birds in good shape now, up 10. The UVU women in their own semi already wrapped up against Grand Canyon. Tight game in the 4th when Kayla Anderson sinks 3, lifting the Wolverines up a deuce. The Lady Lopes, though, then reel off a 15-4 run to go up 10. Tiara Brown, followed by Katie Scott, leading all scorers with 18. Utah Valley did have a look for overtime here, but Chelsea Williams is not close at the horn as they exit Vegas a day early. Their Division I debut in St. George was supposed to happen over 6 months ago. Of course, it didn't work out that way for Dixie State, but that home opener should finally take place tomorrow afternoon when the Trailblazers face Tarleton State on the football field for the second time in 3 weeks.
I hope there's a lot of people come out because we're playing some good ball right now, and it's such a great atmosphere to come play here, and our guys are going to be juiced to be at home. Again, sleeping in our own bed and playing a really, really good opponent. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun atmosphere.
It's been over 400 plus since we played at home, and I know a lot of our fans and a lot of community members are excited to come out and cheer us on. So it's gonna be a totally different environment and something that they've probably never seen before.
Perhaps Tom Brady will play till he's 50. Already under contract for another year in Tampa Bay, the reigning Super Bowl MVP has now signed a 4-year extension with the Buccaneers that voids to a 1-year extension. Whatever that means. The 43-year-old quarterback is already the oldest player in the National Football League. And RSL has a new weapon, signing winger Anderson Julio for the 2021 season. Julio is on loan from San Luis of Mexico's Liga MX League. The 24-year-old notched 27 goals and 26 assists across 134 career matches in Mexico. He'll join RSL once his visa gets final approval. Right back.
Okay, as we say goodbye in the last seconds, this is I-15 down in Beaver County, and what is the latest word that we've got? That I-15 is open? Intermittent movement. Yeah, we see it going in one direction.
I think it's still closed at milepost 109, and they said every single tow truck in the area is busy right now working on those crashes.
Oh, wow.
Lots of crashes.
Be safe, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us this past hour.
We'll see you back here at 9 o'clock.